Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Defense Secretary Jim Mattis held a press conference today to reassure everyone about the strike in Syria and to let everyone know, look, guys, the tensions between the U.S. and Russia over Syria are not going to spiral out of control. Man, where have we heard this before? I feel as though this is Colin Powell going before everyone saying, we must strike, we must do something. Here, I've got this vial of anthrax, but I promise you this will not get out of control. What do you think is going to happen with regime change with Assad? We've seen it again and again. It's going to create a power vacuum, and then the U.S. is going to have to be fighting not only against Iran and Turkey and ISIS, but possibly Russia as well. We've got warships now pointed right at North Korea. You know what, Mattis? I think things have already begun to spiral out of control. Let's take a listen to President-elect Trump. Now, this is President Trump. He had already been elected, okay? But it was just before the inauguration. Let's take a listen to his ideology then.
We will pursue a new foreign policy that finally learns from the mistakes of the past. We will stop looking to topple regimes and overthrow governments, folks. Remember, $6 trillion, $6 trillion in the Middle East. $6 trillion. Our goal is stability, not chaos. Because we want to rebuild our country. It's time. It's time.
Absolutely. And that is the president that I voted for. What happened to that guy? I didn't vote for Rex Tillerson. As Michael Savage pointed out today on the Alex Jones Show, we didn't see his name on the ballot. Mr. Rex Tillerson, who says it is clear that Bashar al-Assad must go. He's now speaking in Italy. This is before he's on his way to Moscow, hopefully to meet with Vladimir Putin. We'll see if how that turns out. But he's saying Russia should rethink its decision to ally with countries like Syria and Iran. So we don't know, is this just a lot of posturing here, letting Russia know that they're going to strike and they're going to strike fast. They're not dealing with the Obama administration. This is a different type of ideology than what the American people voted for. We wanted the president that said we were going to stay out of the Middle East and stop the regime change and learn the mistakes of the past. Now, it sounds as if he's talking about regime change, but he's very careful with the wording here. And he says, it's very clear to all of us that the reign of the Assad family is coming to an end. But the question of how that ends and the transition itself could be very important, in our view, to the durability and the stability inside a unified Syria. So kind of saying, look, we see what happened with Libya. We see what happened with Iraq and Afghanistan and Iran and all these other places. We've got to learn the lessons of the past and learn the lessons of what went wrong when you choose the pathway of regime change. So he's very careful here to say that the policy that the U.S.'s policy on Syria regarding regime change hasn't changed. They're still not going to do that. They're going to just align with those campaign promises that Trump made. So how are they going to do it? What's their plan? And so in a very non-reassuring way, we have Kellyanne Conway coming out and speaking to the press, and they're pressing her on what the plans of the president might be then in Syria.
This is one of those situations, Kellyanne, where the White House under Donald Trump as president is reluctant to show the bad guys all the cards.
It's something else that President Trump has always been made very clear, and that's absolutely what's going on here. As our Press Secretary Sean Spicer said yesterday in his briefing, the president will continue to hold those cards close to his vest, and he should be doing that. This is in the interest of our nation for the commander-in-chief and the president and his national security team to take action privately.
It is not in our national interest for the president and his security team to take action privately. That is what is so frightening here, people. You have to have authorization to go to war. The founders were very clear about that. Actually, Patrick Henry said, the liberties of a people never were nor ever will be secure when the transactions of their rulers may be concealed from them. Now, obviously, we don't need to know every single strategic move that the president might take. Of course, that was one of his main complaints with the Obama administration, is that they would always give the bad guys the heads up days and weeks in advance. So I agree on that. We don't need every single detail there, but you need authorization from Congress to go to war. And the American people need to be able to decide if we're willing to go have more of our sons and daughters who might be drafted this time around go to fight a war, which frankly is over oil in the Middle East, as it always has been. We'll get to Michael Savage's take on that in a minute. But here again, this airstrike in Syria could all have been because Ivanka Trump got the SADs. Okay, now this is according to her brother Eric Trump, who he said that he's very sure that his sister Ivanka Trump encouraged their father to carry out the strike against the Syrian president. And a lot of people have been saying that she's a mother of 3. Of course, she would care. Well, you know what, Ivanka? What about these images? Why wasn't anything done, when you're seeing dead bodies in the street in Nice, France, or in Sweden, Stockholm, or Germany, any of the latest myriad of truck attacks, or in Egypt, where you have Christians being slaughtered on Palm Sunday, children dead in the streets there as well, and in their own churches? Why were you not moved then? That's because they went out of their way. The media, for whatever reason, goes out of their way to blur the images of these dead children because they don't want you to get all riled up over those bad guys, especially not when they're trying to encourage you to allow these refugees to flood into your country and have this open border policy. No, we're going to blur out that atrocity because we don't want to get you riled up over those bad guys. We only want to weaponize these images to get you riled up over these bad guys. So Ivanka, why don't you brush up on war propaganda and false flag history before you encourage your father to send more children off to their early demise based on war propaganda? We all know about Pearl Harbor there and that debacle. What about this recent headline where the Pentagon actually paid for fake Al-Qaeda videos? Okay, and that's coming out of the Daily Beast and Salon and other left-wing publications. The Pentagon gave a controversial UK PR firm over $500 million to run a top-secret propaganda program in Iraq. This is according to the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. Okay, and this is just one instance. We know there's all sorts of wag the dog going on. It's been going on for decades. And this is what they will do. If they want a war and they want to push a war, they are going to pump out certain types of propaganda. Like the little Syrian boy who was inside of the ambulance there and that people showed you, it was just a still photograph that made the rounds, but the actual video shows you the camera people setting up the shot to evoke the most passion from the people so that people would say, yeah, let's go to war. Let's go fight that war. Who cares about all the kids in Yemen that are getting blown up in the streets by Saudi Arabian bombs? And there are going to be more propaganda videos, folks. So we have the White House laying out their evidence that Syria was behind this deadly chemical attack. Regardless of the fact Susan Rice just months ago came out and said that they could verify that they gave up all their chemical weapons. The Obama administration was able to do that. But now all of a sudden they know that the Syrian regime has plenty of chemical weapons, okay? And so they're laying that out. They say intelligence gathered from social media accounts. Where have we heard that again? The Obama administration was checking social media, open source videos, reporting, imagery, and geospatial intelligence. They say that was what showed them the chemical attack was a regime attack. I don't think there's evidence to the contrary at all. And on MSNBC yesterday, I saw them as well talking about there are going to be more chemical attacks. There's going to be more chemical attacks. Bashar al-Assad has no reason to do it, but he's going to do it. Now we've got Vladimir Putin actually coming out and saying that the U.S. is preparing to bomb the Syrian capital, and they're going to blame the devastation on Bashar al-Assad's forces. He actually says there's going to be this false flag. He says, we have information that a similar provocation is being prepared in other parts of Syria, including in the southern Damascus suburbs, where they are planning to again plant some substance and accuse the Syrian authorities of using chemical weapons. Now, he doesn't provide any evidence of that. He just says, my sources say that this is coming. And so here again, we can't even now point out that this false flag stuff has gone on. 2013, perfect example. They tried to drum up going to war in Syria in 2013, immediately without an independent investigation. And then people said, whoa, wait a minute, give it some time. Let's see what evidence surfaces here. And then sure enough, a month or so later, it turns out that there's no way that it could have came from the Syrian regime, and it was actually fired from rebel territory. So that's the kind of stuff that we point out here at Infowars. But now we can't even say it because I will be a Putin stooge. I am officially a Russian agent now that I agree with Vladimir Putin that there are false flags and that we can't just trust every single propaganda video that comes out. I want to roll this B-roll while I'm talking of a perfect example of these propaganda videos and how easy they are to create. This is a fake car bombing. I believe this took place in Iraq. And so you can see the guy setting up the bomb there, and then he drives off, and then the bomb goes off, and then all of a sudden, all these people move in from off camera and lay around on the ground as if they've just been attacked. And then you have these white hat looking people rushing in to help them. And so this is the type of stuff that we see over and over again. We know Wag the Dog is real. We know that people have it at their disposal to be able to create these propaganda videos. And this is the type of stuff that they hope would go down the memory hole, even though we see it decade after decade. This is exactly what people have been calling Tulsi Gabbard, a Russian agent, because she would say, we need to learn the lessons of the past. She has a message for all these liberals attacking her. Criticism of Trump's missile strike on Syria. She says, we need to learn from Iraq and Libya, wars that were propagated as necessary to relieve human suffering, but actually increased human suffering many times over. People are calling for her to be ousted from Congress, okay? These are Democrats, right? The party of the anti-war. What happened? That's why, the left-right paradigm is a total freaking joke. It's just when you have people speaking out against what the establishment wants, that's where the real divide is. So you have people saying this is a disgrace. Gabbard should not be in Congress. That was a Democratic National Committee Chairman Howard Dean actually saying that. So she responded to that criticism by saying, those who've declared Trump a habitual liar now vilify those refusing to blindly follow him into another regime change war. Hypocrisy. And that is exactly what Michael Savage had to say directly to President Trump when he made a surprise visit to the Alex Jones show today. He said, look at all the people who are suddenly supporting President Trump, and we want the president that we voted for.
He is listening to you, so speak directly to the president. Go ahead.
Oh, my God. Well, hello, President Trump. You said I should live another 25 years when you put your arm around me at Mar-a-Lago. I hope you mean it because I can use another 25 minutes the way I feel. My feeling is this. Tillerson is misleading you. I have no idea why people don't see through that man. It seems to me that it's so plain that you don't have to be a genius to see what happened here. What does ExxonMobil gain if they cut Syria out of the gas lines that are running out of the Middle East to Europe? What does ExxonMobil gain by that, Alex? That's the whole story in a nutshell. It's another war for oil. It's all over again. It's the same thing as 1999. Remember when Bill Clinton was mercilessly bombing the Serbian people?
Yes. For the Muslims.
I wrote an article. In 1999, the oily tracks run through Kosovo. It was a little-noticed article. My heart was broken because Bill Clinton engaged in 78 of the worst days of my life until now, where Bill Clinton mercilessly bombed Serbia. He blew up hospitals. He blew up train stations. He blew up every bridge on the Danube River for one reason, and that was to steal Kosovo from the Serbs. For the stability of their families, we're against that insane act by Bill Clinton. I have not changed my position. It's the same exact thing. We cannot let crazed businessmen who put their bottom line ahead of the survival of the planet, and I'm talking about Rex Tillerson, to rule this nation. Did you vote for Rex Tillerson? Was
No.
his name on the goddamn ballot?
No.
Did you ever hear of that Cro-Magnon?
No.
Whoever heard of that throwback? Where did he come from? Where the hell did that throwback come from? That lowbrow looks like he crawled out of a pit somewhere.
Eddie Munster?
We can say all the things we want. I did not elect him to the presidency. I didn't kill myself for a year. I have total faith in Donald Trump. And I'll repeat right now what I said to him. I would do anything for that man. I have total faith in him. But I don't understand how he cannot see through all the president's men. They're misleading him. They're taking him down a road he cannot come back from.
Absolutely. That's what my...
Alex, if he loses you and he loses me, tell me what happens next.
That they'll destroy him, and he has to know that his base is upset. But let's expand on that. The British ambassador, I want to ask you this question, to Syria said, listen, it's not that Assad's perfect. We're on the side of al-Qaeda and ISIS. They're celebrating this. They're going to stage more stuff. They got caught in 2013. They got caught last year. It's official. They videotaped it. These jihadis want to be rock stars. They videotaped launching the chemical attacks. It wasn't sarin. It was chlorine gas because the doctors are taking care of them without gloves. And Putin has come out and said it's a false flag. And he says more is planned. And that's what the British ambassador and Putin, who are smart, are saying is, we don't want war. We want to de-escalate this. What are you going to do now, Trump, when the jihadis stage more stuff, this time in Aleppo or in the suburbs of Damascus, and then the right-wing, left-wing neocons, whatever you want to call them, rhinos, the warmongers like McCain and Graham, say, President, you've got to do something. They have painted him into a corner. This is one of the biggest secrets out there. The missing link of why our ancestors, whether you were in Africa or ancient Albion, which is England today, why our ancestors were so much stronger. I mean, there are huge archaeological reports, all sorts of anthropology studies, you can look them up for yourself, that show that humans, just an average farmer of 10,000 years ago in England, was stronger than Olympic athletes today. In the final equation, everyone knows our modern society has lost its vitality. The sperm counts are down like 90%. People are falling apart. They're totally depressed. They're unhappy. What is going on? Every ancient culture was obsessed with what I'm about to reveal to you. Today we call it bone broth, and for thousands of years our ancestors enjoyed its benefits before it became lost to our modern diets of processed junk. That's why I'm so excited to announce the product that is undoubtedly the jewel in the crown of Infowars Life products. Caveman. We lost our vitality because we just ignored the ancient traditions. Everyone knew that you used all the parts of the animal. You used the skin to cover yourself or for shelter. You used the meat for sustenance, the fat for cooking, but you used the bones for strength. We are now introducing Caveman by InfoWarsLife.com, the ultimate in true paleo nutrition with bone broth, turmeric root, chaga mushroom, and 7 total primal superfoods in a single great tasting formula. The bone is so amazing. From the outside structure full of minerals and key cofactors to the marrow that produces the blood for the body. This is the engine of the life essence. I've made a lot of important points here, but this is the one you need to research for yourself because it's so key. High-quality bone broth helps support healthy muscles and connective tissue, while the active compounds in turmeric do battle on the cellular level and help fight free radicals. And collagen is essential to aid healthy tendons, ligaments, and muscle tissue. This is an absolute win-win. You get an amazing product produced right here in America. You support Infowars and all we're doing to promote freedom and the restoration of our republic and promotion of freedom worldwide. The journey towards better health and giving our bodies these amazing compounds that God created starts at InfoWarsLife.com. 3 years in the making, incredible research, and the very best ingredients. I'm Alex Jones, and I may not be a caveman, but compared to these trendies out there in the street, I'm as close as it gets. Join me at InfoWarsLife.com and get your caveman formula today.